Today we will be discussing A Thin Line Between Love and Hate, a movie directed and starring Martin Lawrence, which is a 1996 romantic thriller comedy that examines the consequences of manipulative romantic pursuits, and the film delves into the complexities of love, trust, and the dangerous repercussions of mistreating the emotions of others. Welcome to Cinema Nostalgica, where we break down nostalgic hidden gems. Today we will be breaking down a thin line between love and hate. Who's really the bad guy here when love and infatuation turns into addiction and obsession? I am assuming that you have already seen this movie, but if not, please pause and watch it now. We will be talking in depth about the plot, and there will be spoilers, so please consider this your spoiler warning. Before we begin, please consider this video a rant of some sorts. I do want to highlight certain moments where I feel that Darnell sowed his seeds and received the karma that he rightfully deserved. Playing with people's emotions, leading them on, cheating, lying, and gaslighting women. He did all of this to multiple women throughout this film. And I'm not completely sure if it was the time period that the movie came out, or perhaps when I first saw this movie I was just a young teen, but I was convinced that all the women in the film, not just Brandi, was just crazy, absolute crazy. But now I see that Darnell pushed these women to the edge, especially Brandi. So I will be discussing certain scenes in the movie which really just grinds my gears and validates the argument that Darnell put himself in this position and he pushed Brandi to the point of no return. So let's talk about it. The film follows Darnell Wright, a charismatic nightclub manager with a reputation for being a ladies' man. He is used to being charming, but also discards women at his leisure and never faces significant consequences for his actions. This all changes when he encounters Brandi Webb, played by Lynn Whitfield, a beautiful and successful businesswoman. Initially, Brandi resists all of Darnell's advances, but eventually she allows herself to be wooed by him and his persistent efforts. As Darnell becomes romantically involved with Brandi, his motives are not true, even after she gives him several clues not to play with her emotions. Because of his recklessness, her affection quickly turns into a dangerous obsession, leading to a series of intense and frightening encounters. Now let's review some scenes that highlights Darnell as a complete predator, womanizer, and player. Starting off with Darnell's friend T, played by Bobby Brown. He looks up to Darnell as a player and often competes with him for getting girls, and when T sees Brandi for the first time and she rejects him, he immediately insults her and calls her stuck up. This scene really irritates me because why is he getting aggressive with her and calling her names? She is clearly part of the upper class as she has a driver and a personal car. This was way before Uber, obviously. And I'm sorry, but can't a girl just dress nice and be classy without being called stuck up? This reminds me of the terrible uptick in crimes we are seeing when women are being violently harassed when they reject men. It is so upsetting, and this idea of don't be a player hater or don't hate the player, hate the game may have been the source, but I digress. Then we see Darnell coming to his family home. He's very protective over his sister and gives money to his mom. We learn that his father passed away, and we see that Darnell does have some level of respect for his mom and sister. But yet we then learn that Darnell is giving the women that he's dating, or I should say the women that he's playing with and essentially screwing over, his mom's number. That's so immature, and in fact it just shows that he actually has little respect for his mom, since he is allowing girls to blow up her phone, bringing drama to her phone line, and letting her do his dirty work by rejecting the women. This shows you right here that he does not understand how to be a man, and like I said before, it's just completely immature. Then we hear his mother say the infamous line, "A night full of passion can give you a lifetime of pain." Next, we see Darnell at the club Chocolate City where he works, and I already do not like the optics that this film portrays. We see the women Darnell has been hooking up with, confronting him for his wrongdoings. But the film makes it seem like the women are crazy, obsessed with him, and that they're being irrational. when we can assume that he has been playing with their emotions all along, lying and gaslighting them, and dating them all at the same time. So, yes, he had every right to be cussed out, and the women are not crazy. They're just calling out his bad behavior. Next, we see that Brandi goes to the club, maybe to see what he's all about. But already, she sees straight through him and his manipulative behavior by saying, I don't know what you're selling, but I ain't buying. Again, she can see straight through him, and she's not interested in playing games. When she leaves the club, Darnell takes her license plate number. Like, wow. And granted, I am fully aware that this is just a movie, but think about the lengths he had to go through to find out more about Brandi. We know that he finds out where she works. So who's the stalker crazy person now? All of this just to hook up with her? He's a total predator. Next, we are introduced to Mia, and we will get into it more between her and Darnell's struggle-love relationship later in this deep dive, but we do know that they were probably old friends, had a past relationship, and he most likely did her dirty. She is back in town after being away for the Air Force, and let's face it, she looks amazing, she got her life together, and in true fuckboy fashion, we hear Darnell say that he wants her to wait for him until he is ready. But meanwhile, he is being the biggest player in the game, and it's the audacity for me. I just cannot with Darnell at this point. And like I said, we will get back into Mia and Darnell's struggle of relationship. But ladies, I'm telling you now, if you are dealing with someone like Darnell, a man who is telling you to wait for him, if he is putting you on the back burner, or if you are experiencing some level of struggle love, do yourself a favor and leave now. Trust me, it's not worth it. Next is the dreaded Jujubes candy gift. Y'all, after watching this movie in 2024, I was like, damn, really? Mia is an amazing woman. She has pride in herself. She's forgiving as she's willing to open up and even have a friendship with Darnell, most likely after she experienced a heartbreak with him. And he comes back with a box of Jujubes. Now, sure, it's her favorite candy, but him thinking that this low-level effort gift will be accepted as some type of grand gesture to make her happy just shows how much he really thinks of her. He thinks of her as an around-the-way girl who is cool, will accept anything he gives her, will be his ride or die, even though he is deserving of none of it. This may be a hot take, and many people might disagree with me on this, but the Jujubes candy is a cop-out. It's low effort, and I think this is just how he sees her, as someone who's low maintenance, who he could just swoop in, swoon her, just because he remembered a random childhood fact. I especially feel this way because we later see Darnell bring Brandi, a girl he just met by the way, a Lalique glass bird, a huge bouquet of roses, and that included lots of effort. Imagine if he did the same for Mia, but he won't because he doesn't value Mia. Men put their time and money into things that they value. And he still doesn't see her for the amazing woman she is by saying she's only going to re-enlist into the Air Force because of a man, not because she is learning, traveling, and discovering herself. She doesn't need a man to value her because she values herself. But yet we will see she does contradict herself later in the film. I do like the way she played the angle of having Darnell answer her door for her date, but she's doing it to make him jealous, when in reality she shouldn't be giving him any of her energy. And let's examine Reggie, and put aside the fact that he is a business owner and his family owns a franchise, but he does bring her, I guess you could consider it a chippy gift. It's a chicken box from his franchise, but it is also accompanied by a date. He pays her a compliment and puts forth time and money and energy on Mia because he values her, unlike Darnell. And Darnell has the nerve to diss the chicken box gift when he literally just gave her a box of candy. Next we see Darnell the stalker pop up at Brandi's job with the aforementioned bouquet of roses. He is so narcissistic that he sees this as a great idea to disrupt her day, disrupt her phone call, and her meeting. Darnell literally just barges in unannounced and, in my opinion, embarrasses her at her workplace. And he even breaks her crystal. And just in case we forgot, let me emphasize this again, she does not know this man. And if that wasn't bad enough, he books a house tour with her company and essentially wastes her time because he is not in the market for a house, let alone can afford the one that she is viewing. The audacity is real with this one, y'all. And he still thinks he's God's gift to women. Brandi keeps her composure, surprisingly, and is very professional and continues with the house tour. And yet again, she emphasizes, don't play with me. She's not one to play games. But he gaslights her by, for one, giving her the lilac bird to replace the one that he broke at her office, but also saying that he is real and that he's not playing games, and then accuses her for playing games. Total manipulation on his part. She does fall for it, and I don't even want to say that she falls for it, but instead she decides to give him a chance. They go on dates, but she still has boundaries as she's not willing to be intimate with him sexually. I think deep down she knows that he's just not the one. His true colors show when they go horseback riding, and his frustration comes out, and he starts being aggressive and trying to con her into having sex. In the dirty woods, mind you. When she refuses his advances, again he turns to his manipulative tactics. We later see he tries to make her jealous at the club and make her feel bad for taking things slow. She made it clear that she does not know him, and what is really obvious is that he does not know her. Let's get to the climax. Brandi talks with herself and is forcing herself to trust, to open up, have fun. She thinks Darnell may be the one, her future husband, that this is a new chapter in her life, that he is real and his intentions are genuine. She then explains to him that she can't be hurt again, and this actually needs to be for real. He lies, says that he loves her, and they do the deed. And when they are doing the deed, this is when she says that she killed her former husband. And instead of asking questions or telling her how he really felt, he ignored that huge red flag and continued to carry on. Immediately after they have sex, he calls his friend to brag that his game worked and he took advantage of Brandi like she was a prize to be won. Now, Brandi believes she is in a full-blown relationship, that she is in a committed relationship with a man who loves her. Her walls come down and she spoils him, buys him clothes, and tells him that she will take care of him financially. On this day, she gives him her personal driver for the day, for him to run around and do some errands, and she does all of this on her birthday with the promise that he will return to her home and they will spend her birthday together. But we later see that he uses her like a dirty rag. While Darnell is running errands, he finds Mia only after he learns that she's going back to the Air Force. Like, he wasn't trying to pursue Mia in a genuine way this whole time. But when he learns that she is moving on with her life, he decides this is the perfect time to take Mia out on a date while he has Brandi's car. And what gets me is Brandi's driver is there the entire time. Like, he had the driver drive him to Mia's house. Like, are you for real? And oh, excuse me, he didn't even take Mia out on a date. He brings her to an overlook and they sit on top of a car. And at this point, we could only assume that they are sitting on top of Brandi's limo. So if that's true, he had Brandi's driver drive him around with another woman and court her on her dime and on her birthday. Despicable. And this is when I say that Mia contradicts herself. She plays like she's this high-value woman, but yet she is okay with accepting Darnell's proposal while he is, number one, dressed in clothes that another woman brought him that day, and while he's in possession of another woman's car. Like, come on, Mia. What happened to Reggie? Mia should have listened to her cousin and leave Darnell alone. But lo and behold, Mia lets Darnell sleep over, all while Brandi's limo is parked out front with the driver asleep in the front seat. Now, if this doesn't piss you off to no end, I don't know what will. And then when Darnell finally gets back to Brandi's house in the morning, he comes into her house so cocky and unapologetic. And then he breaks up with her. Darnell is a dog, and yes, the movie does a great job with showing us that. The film isn't shy with showing Darnell's true colors, but the film does make us sympathize with him when Brandi starts getting crazy. And yes, she is crazy, I am not denying that, but he pushed her to that point. And mind you, this is the man who showed up to her job unannounced and booked her for a real estate viewing appointment. But yet, we are supposed to feel bad for him when she shows up unannounced to make him pancakes? This is the man who lied to her, said I loved you, used her for sex, and we, as the viewer, are supposed to feel sorry for him after he gaslit and manipulated her? Now, granted, when she started hitting and injuring herself, that was wild, and that scene actually really sticks out to me and haunts me to this day. And then blaming him for her injuries and calling the cops on him was completely uncalled for. And I'm sure we probably wouldn't go that far, but really, what would you do in that situation? Now, I don't condone violence, but Darnell had it coming. And honestly, she is doing things that we probably all wish we could do if we were in this situation. And yes, she is completely loco, and we know that she gets violent because she did murder her past husband. And yes, she did burn down the club, maybe tried to run him over, and damaged his car, and just became very toxic. But she told Darnell time and time again, don't play with her. She's not one to be played. She doesn't want to play games. She's looking for something real. And he just didn't want to listen. And then we see that he is still lying to Mia, not telling her the complete situation and not being honest. He's telling her that he loves her, and we are supposed to believe that. But then he breaks up with Mia without giving her any explanation. And yes, it is due to Brandi's advances, but he breaks her heart yet again. At this point, Mia really needs to be done. There's a lot of drama going on, and he's just not being honest. The movie ends with Darnell confronting Brandi at her house. She waits for him and unleashes a full attack on him and attempts to take his life. Mia and T come to Darnell's rescue, and all parties get into an altercation one way or another. In the end, it is Brandi, Darnell, and Mia falling from a window and landing in Brandi's pool. We see that Brandi is free, or at least not locked up. I would have liked to see her hospitalized, in therapy, or locked up. Just like Darnell, she cannot escape the consequences of her actions. And lastly, we do not see the outcome of Mia and Darnell. We can assume that they stayed together, and I hope Darnell learned his lesson and is good to Mia. But what do you think? Do you think he will treat Mia right? Honestly, I'm not so inclined to believe so. Brandi has an MBA, she graduated from Harvard, she runs her own business, she has a mansion on the beach with a pool overlooking the ocean, and this Dusty came along, screwed up her head, and made her return back to her destructive roots. And this sets the stage for the dramatic shift when the woman's affection turns to an obsession, which leads to a series of confrontations and conflicts. Darnell's pursuit of Brandi is driven by pride and ego rather than love. His initial fascination with her beauty and success blinds him to the reality of her personality and her emotional needs. And Brandi's intense reactions to Darnell's betrayal suggests a possible history of insecure attachment where past traumas may have led her to develop a heightened sensitivity to rejection and abandonment. This emotional fragility can explain her shift from affection to obsession when she feels emotionally threatened by Darnell's actions. Brandi's behavior in the film raises important questions about dating and dealing with mental health. The film provides an opportunity to explore the complexities of mental health and how the lack of support can heighten an individual's struggles. By framing Brandi's actions within the context of mental health, we can foster a more empathetic understanding of her character and the challenges that she faces. The film uses humor to portray Darnell's cavalier attitude towards women and relationships, but as the story progresses, the comedic tone goes away, and it shows a darker exploration of repercussions of his actions. This shift underscores the message that manipulating emotions can lead to severe consequences, and a lesson is had to be learned. The film serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of playing with people's emotions and the importance of taking responsibility for one's actions in relationships. The film is parallel with the 1987 film Fatal Attraction and follows a similar narrative where seemingly harmless romantic encounter spirals into a dangerous obsession. In both films, the male protagonist engages in a casual romantic relationship, underestimating the emotional depth of the woman involved. This sets the stage for a dramatic shift when the woman's affection turns cold and loads to a series of intense situations. The film's title, A Thin Line Between Love and Hate, is central to the movie's theme. Love and hate are intense emotions, and people can teeter between feeling both at the same time. Brandi and Darnell's relationship highlight how easily love can transform into hate when trust is betrayed, and the delicate balance which is required to maintain a healthy and stable relationship. Before we close, I also want to touch on the subtle colorism that is present in the film. Brandi, who is light-skinned and portrayed as wealthy, polished, and sophisticated, embodies the idealized image often attached to light-skinned women in media. She exudes success, class, and allure, which initially draws Darnell to her. The stereotype of the crazy, unstable woman is still linked to her character, but it still plays into her desirability at the start. In contrast, Mia, Darnell's childhood friend and the more down-to-earth character, is deeper in complexion and is portrayed as relatable, loyal, and kind. She represents the door-next-door archetype in a more grounded figure of stability and genuineness. However, initially she is overlooked by Darnell, and Darnell kicks her to the curb several times for Brandi's more glamorous and mysterious allure, reflecting on how deeper-skinned women in media are often cast in supporting roles or roles that are less glamorous compared to their light-skinned counterparts. In the altercation scene with Brandi and Mia, Brandi does say some really disgusting things to Mia about her hair and just underlines everything that I'm speaking about with colorism. It's really disgusting and I don't really want to repeat it. This dynamic taps into the broader issue of colorism in Hollywood and society, where lighter skin is often associated with beauty, status, and desirability, while deeper skin tones are regulated to more grounded or even subordinate roles. That also is reflected in the film's script of allowing Mia to be constantly disrespected by Darnell, and she always takes him back. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching. Please consider liking this video and subscribing if you like nostalgic cinema deep dives. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.